Trapped in an elevator for 30 minutes, this poor mother uncovers an incredible opportunity with. The elevator jolted abruptly, sending Sarah's heart racing. Trapped in a cramped metal box in a bustling New York City high-rise, her mind instantly spiraled into chaos. Her 8-year-old son Dakota was counting on her to be at his soccer game right after school. The thought clawed at her. Each frustrating second slipped away like grains of sand. The digital display illuminated 5 and refused to budge, reminding her that she was late and cutting even closer to a moment of vulnerability she had grown to dread, her own dreams overshadowed by responsibility. "Hello," came a cheerful voice beside her. It was an elderly gentleman, his silver hair shining beneath the stark elevator lights. "I'm Mr. Thompson," he said, offering a warm smile. Sarah forced a smile in return, desperate to quiet the panic bubbling inside. "I'm Sarah. Just trying to get to the ground floor." "Ah, the world outside waits for no one," he chuckled lightly, perhaps sensing her unease. She wished he could sense the fear gnawing at her. In the pit of her stomach, a darker truth lurked. She had sacrificed so much. Her future, her ambitions all shelved for the sake of bills and her son's needs. As the elevator jerked again, her chest tightened. She felt claustrophobic, not just in the small space, but in her life. Mr. Thompson launched into a tale, weaving anecdotes from his days as a professor, victory struggles, battles with finances, and moments that revealed the true power of education. As he spoke, it momentarily distracted her. But unease bubbled beneath the surface, reminding her that the walls around her, both physical and metaphorical, were closing in. "Every decision holds weight," he said, and it felt like a direct confrontation. She glanced at him, the lines on his face a roadmap of experience and choices. Minutes crept on. Time seemed to blend, amplifying her anxiety. "I could have had it all," she thought, wrestling with the inertia that had become her life. Just last week, she hesitated to pursue a degree. "Am I even worthy of having dreams?" A sickening self-doubt tangled with her worry about Dakota. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. A violent jolt broke the reverie, the elevator shaking violently. Panic surged, her breath quickened. How can I choose between my child and myself? The weight of responsibility suffocated her. Mr. Thompson's calm demeanor was a lifeline, yet she momentarily felt a twisting gut horror. She didn't have any answers, only questions that spiraled into more insistent doubts. Finally, as the elevator shuddered back to life, she felt the doors slide open, a sliver of light spilling in. The world beyond loomed vibrant yet intimidating. The sunlight beckoned her, but a heaviness settled on her spirit. This encounter with Mr. Thompson had ignited something, but the responsibility and fear tightened like a noose. Would she walk away, forever haunted by a chance missed? As she stepped into the wild world outside, a tempest raged in her heart. Determined, yet paralyzed, she stood at a precipice, caught between fear and longing. As Sarah stepped out of the elevator, the chaotic pulse of New York City enveloped her. Everything around her blended into a buzz of voices and traffic, yet her mind echoed with Mr. Thompson's words. "Every decision holds weight." It struck her like a bell tolling a warning, resonating in her chest. She had choices to make, but what were they? With Dakota's game looming and half-formed dreams crowding her thoughts, she felt the anxiety tighten around her throat. To escape the jittery weight of uncertainty, she veered towards a nearby cafe, the scent of coffee inhaled with shaky breaths. Finding a table by the window, she attempted to gather her thoughts. Opening her phone, she scrolled through emails, obligations, work commitments, and reminders for bills. Each message felt like a chain, binding her to a life she hadn't chosen fully. Her gaze drifted outside as she watched the rush of pedestrians, each person a story, a direction. An impulse gripped her, her fingers danced across the screen, typing in online degree programs. A flood of information met her as she clicked through links. Certifications in marketing, design, and education swirled in front of her, enticing but overwhelming. Can I really do this? She murmured to herself, the question familiar yet unyielding. Above all the fears that flooded her mind, a smattering of self-doubt and the voices of her own past cautioning her against risks, there simmered a different feeling, one that stirred deeper. It was a yearning, powerful and undeniable, tugging her back toward an identity she once embraced. When her phone buzzed, a message from Dakota's teacher popped onto the screen, reminding her of his game. A familiar flood of guilt rushed in, overshadowing the newfound possibility. She was in a constant battle between providing for her son and pursuing her own aspirations. What kind of role model would she be if she failed to chase her dreams while asking him to chase his? Suddenly, an idea sparked as she looked around the cafe, observing students tapping at laptops and engaged in lively discussions. Perhaps pursuing a degree wasn't solely for her. It could transform her into a better mother, a conduit for Dakota's aspirations as well. This was not just choices about herself but about instilling resilience in him. Resolved but still shaky, she wondered how to break this cycle. She needed to confront her employer, who had up until now taken advantage of her willingness to work extra hours without acknowledgement or compensation. The mere anticipation of that conversation sent her heart racing again. She could feel the remnants of the elevator's claustrophobia creeping back. But she steeled herself. If she were going to step into her own future, it meant standing up for herself, confronting her fears head-on. As she hurriedly consumed the last sip of her coffee, a plan began to crystallize. She would draft an email to her boss, not just for a raise but for an opportunity to explore flexible roles that would allow her to study. It felt like a culmination of all those unanswered questions narrowing into purpose. With firm hands, Sarah began typing. The satisfaction of finally taking action, however small, began to swell in her chest. Though her heart still pounded in her ears, this time it felt like a heartbeat heralding a new beginning. In that very moment, she glimpsed a shadow of determination replace the choking fear. Now all she had to do was press send. As the email disappeared into the digital ether, she noticed all the faces rushing by again. But rather than feeling lost among them, she saw the potential for connection, for inspiration, for future opportunities. The weight of ambition and responsibility was no less daunting, but she felt it shifting just enough for her to stand taller. She straightened her spine, inhaling deeply, ready to embark on this treacherous yet exhilarating path. But then, a notification alert shattered the moment and an invitation popped up on her screen, a seminar that could unlock doors she had never imagined. The title took her breath away. Redefining Success, Education and Entrepreneurship. Would she dare to claim that opportunity, or would the fear tether her again? The seminar invitation glowed on Sarah's screen, an alluring beacon in a sea of uncertainty. Her pulse quickened at the thought of attending, but quickly, a wave of doubt cascaded over her. What if she failed to fit in? What if her voice trembled as she spoke? Would she be welcomed in a space that felt far removed from her daily struggles? Sarah bit her lip, her mind racing. The tightness in her chest from moments before resurfaced, signaling her internal conflict. She could almost hear the echoes of doubt, drilling into her mind. Who was she to chase such lofty ambitions? Yet, the depths of her desire clashed with those nagging voices, prodding her for a decision. Taking a deep breath, Sarah opened the seminar's details. The description spoke of mentorship, networking opportunities, and practical strategies to push personal and professional barriers. Maybe I could learn something valuable, she murmured to herself, her fingers hovering over the button to register. But her eye caught the small print listing the ticket price. A familiar wave of apprehension washed over her. Could she justify spending money on something that felt so uncertain when every dollar was accounted for? She envisioned Dakota's hopeful face, and guilt bubbled at the surface. But then, she remembered Mrs. Henderson, an old neighbor and entrepreneur who had coaxed her during her teen years not to underestimate her worth. "Your investment in yourself is the strongest currency you'll ever possess," Mrs. Henderson had said. What if this seminar truly held the key to her future? With resolve firming in her gut, Sarah completed the registration. Each click felt like a nail driven into the coffin of her past doubts. Still, anxiety tethered her. The seminar was only 2 days away. What her mind had initially deemed as a glorious leap forward now felt like a gaping abyss. Now, she needed a plan. Juggling working hours and Dakota's game schedule turned into a delicate balancing act. Sarah spent long nights sketching out potential schedules for her work, studies, and parenting, seeking to carve out time for each priority. The flowers of determination began to bloom within her, as she recalled her childhood ambitions to create designs and strategies that would inspire others, an old lover of her dreams coming back into view. It was an arduous journey. Conversations with her disbelieving boss took the form of constant negotiation and advocacy. Each morning, she woke feeling her confidence as a fragile flame waiting to ignite or extinguish. But something shifted the day before the seminar. Her boss, surprisingly receptive to her proposition, agreed to allow a flexible work arrangement in exchange for a commitment to meet deadlines. It felt monumental, confirming her hidden competencies, her ability to negotiate, convey her value, and to assert herself without losing grace. The next day, clad in her best attire, she made her way to the seminar venue, heart in her throat. The atmosphere buzzed with hopeful entrepreneurs and curious minds. This wasn't just about herself, it was a display of courage for Dakota, a preparation for a shared journey toward success. Finally, the seminar began. As discussions unfolded about redefining success, Sarah felt the weight of genuine connection with each word spoken. The speakers weren't just sharing algorithms for success, they were dismantling insecurities, building a community woven with ambition. Then came a pivotal moment. One speaker boldly invited anyone in the audience to share their personal stories, opening a floodgate of vulnerability and experience. Sarah's stomach flipped. Was she ready? The prospect of sharing her identity and dreams in front of so many people struck her with both exhilaration and trepidation. But then, another thought pierced through the chaos in her mind: what if this moment could be my defining story? Determination washed over her. Taking a deep breath, she found herself standing up, ready to embrace her fears. With every heartbeat, she pressed forward. "My name is Sarah, and I'm a mother trying to redefine success for both myself and my son." And then, a hush fell over the room. Silence cloaked her, but within it, a yearning for acceptance sparked. Would this moment of vulnerability propel her toward the transformation she had long sought, or would it shatter the delicate thread holding her confidence together? As Sarah stood, words tumbling out like unfiltered emotions, each syllable felt like a small rebellion against the self-doubt that had haunted her for so long. The silence in the room was heavy, yet charged. She sensed the collective breath of the audience, momentarily suspended in a shared space of vulnerability. When she finished, a warm thunder of applause erupted, and her heart swelled, a fragile but undeniable bloom of hope breaking through the shadows of her previous fears. In the wake of her confession, Sarah felt an alchemical shift within herself. The applause wasn't merely a reaction to her words but an acknowledgement of her journey, a bridge forged between her internal struggles and the external world. She didn't merely speak, she connected, exposing a piece of her truth that had long been cloaked in hesitation. Amidst the crowd, she noticed nods of understanding, smiles of encouragement. It was intoxicating. In this moment, every doubt she had nurtured, the "who am I to be here" thoughts, began to dissolve like mist in the morning sun. Then, a woman approached her, her expression radiant. "You were so brave. I felt every word," she said. This simple validation ignited something deep inside Sarah. If she had the ability to resonate with even one person, perhaps her potential extended far beyond what she had ever imagined. The seminar continued, and Sarah lingered, eager to gather more pearls of wisdom from the speakers. She moved from one discussion to another, her curiosity opening doors she never thought existed. The ideas shared on entrepreneurship, creativity, and resilience felt like sparks for a dry canvas, each one urging her to ignite her own passions buried beneath obligations and fear. As the final session drew to a close, she had a choice. She could walk away, tucked neatly back into her familiar life, or embrace the shifting tides within herself. When the invitation for networking began, her heart raced. Pitching her ideas felt like a leap into the unknown, each conversation a potential risk. But now, it seemed less daunting. The thought of stifling her newfound courage became more unbearable than the thought of failure. Sarah approached a small group crowded around one of the speakers, anticipation coursing through her. "Hi, I'm Sarah. I recently shared my journey, and I'm passionate about using design and strategy to empower others." As the conversation flowed, she expertly crafted her narrative not just about her challenges, but a vision that sparked with hope. The responses were hungry, intrigued, validating her direction. "Have you ever thought about collaborating on a project?" one of them asked, a glimmer of opportunity sparkling in her eyes. The words wrapped around Sarah, a lifeline thrown into the ocean of her chaotic thoughts. That evening, Sarah returned home, her mind buzzing with possibilities. Careful not to disturb Dakota, who was already asleep, she picked up a notepad and began jotting down ideas that flowed as if they had been waiting for the right moment to be unleashed. Each scratch of the pen built a bridge toward action, a way to harness her passion into something tangible. But there lingered one haunting question: could she truly balance this newfound pursuit with the life she had dedicated herself to? Doubt tiptoed back into her consciousness, raising its familiar head. Yet, she also realized that this was her moment to redefine success, both ambitiously and authentically. The next morning, propelled by determination, Sarah initiated ambitious plans, connecting with mentors, seeking feedback, building a roadmap for her ideas. But beneath the excitement, uncertainty loomed. Was she merely a dreamer trying to break free, or could her aspirations cultivate into something substantial? As the weeks unfolded, she found herself facing a distinct crossroads: an unexpected job offer from the network she had built, complemented by the simmering possibility of launching a project that had begun as a fleeting thought. The stakes were high, threatening her fragile balance and time with Dakota. The moment of decision hovered over her like a storm cloud. Would she seize this chance to explore her true potential and risk the very life she cherished? A single heartbeat surged through her, a whisper of courage coiling around her decision-making. Sarah stood at the precipice. Could she truly step into the life she had long desired, and what would that mean for both her and Dakota? With the sun barely peeking through the thin curtains, Sarah was jolted awake by a mixture of anxiety and excitement. She lay in bed, the weight of her options pressing down on her. The job offer, one she had previously dreamed of, now seemed entangled with shadows of her responsibilities. Could an embrace of opportunity and risk coexist with her commitment to Dakota? The ambiguity gnawed at her. After a quick breakfast, she found herself pacing the small living room, her mind racing through potential outcomes. Each step was a challenge against inertia. She took a breath, envisioning her project, an idea born out of those electrifying discussions. What if she approached it more strategically? What if she melded her work aspirations with her passion for design and empowerment? It would require a blueprint, meticulous planning, and execution, not just fervent enthusiasm. With determination solidifying her resolve, Sarah grabbed her laptop and sat at the kitchen table, its glossy surface a blank slate awaiting her thoughts. The early hours buzzed with potential. As she delved deeper into her project outline, the words flowed like a sacred mantra: purpose, passion, plan. Each section spawned new ideas, reflecting hidden capabilities. She realized she'd spent years solving problems. Now, it was time to create solutions. Halfway through a passionate paragraph on innovation, an uncomfortable thought disrupted her flow. A corner of her mind whispered, "What if you fail? What will Dakota think?" Like a chime echoing in a silent space, the question disrupted her concentration. The fear loomed large, a behemoth threatening to devour her progress. But Sarah paused, confronting that anxiety. Failure is part of growth, she reminded herself, allowing the truth to resonate. She could teach Dakota the value of courage and pursuit. By embodying those principles, she could create an opportunity not just for herself but a legacy for her child, a testament to reaching for dreams despite adversity. With renewed clarity, she mapped a timeline for her project's first phase, intending to launch a pitch within a month. Simultaneously, she resolved to approach the job offer, intent on negotiating terms that honored her family time while she nurtured this new venture. The idea was audacious yet thrilling, each element a powerful thread stitching together her aspirations. The next few days revolved around collaboration and outreach. Reaching out to potential partners and mentors felt exhilarating. She was no longer a solitary figure overwhelmed by doubt. No, she was a connector, gathering insights and weaving a network that would buoy her ambitions. Each positive response fueled her enthusiasm. Sarah felt charged, as if her very essence was aligning with the universe's supportive currents. Yet with each step forward came the poignant reminder of their delicate balance at home. Dakota's cheerful laughter echoed in her ears while she revised her work plans late into the night, a stark juxtaposition to the silence of her ambitions. Was it fair? By the end of the week, she found herself at a crossroads yet again. An invitation awaited her, a chance to present her project at an upcoming design showcase, a live pitch to significant industry figures. The anticipation mingled with anxiety. It felt monumental, an opportunity to broadcast her vision. Yet, her heart sank at the thought of leaving Dakota for those hours spent preparing. With mere days remaining until the event, Sarah sat grappling with her thoughts, torn between her ambition and maternal instinct. Could she carry the burden of both? The showcase could elevate her ambitions yet distance her from the laughter and warmth she cherished at home. Late that night, she gazed out the window, the stars flickering like distant possibilities. A sudden thought surged, propelling her forward. Perhaps her greatest asset was her vulnerability, the very essence of why she started this journey. She needed to incorporate her story, her struggles, into the pitch. Excitement bubbled as she reached for her notepad, but suddenly a chilling thought stole her resolve. What if the showcase didn't yield the support she hoped for? The internal war between self-doubt and ambition escalated, and she found herself caught beneath the weight of expectation. Yet, at that moment, one profound question echoed louder than the rest. What legacy did she truly wish for Dakota? Posturing her thoughts, she exhaled deeply. The answer would illuminate a path, yet she remained at an intersection of ambition and uncertainty. As she revised her pitch, the stakes had never felt so high. What would she unveil at the showcase, and how might that impact the bond she so cherished? Tomorrow would reveal whether her multifaceted journey would finally come together or shatter irrevocably. In this fragile moment, she knew, it was time to face her reflection, to confront both the exhilarating possibilities and the raw fears surrounding her future. Would she rise to the occasion or fold under pressure? The next step beckoned, and Sarah was poised on the brink of revelation. Walking into the cafe the next morning, Sarah's nerves were palpable. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee soothed her for only a moment before the weight of the day settled back onto her shoulders. Today was pivotal, marking her first step outside her comfort zone into the exhilarating yet terrifying unknown. She chose a quiet corner, ordered a latte, and opened her laptop, the blue screen illuminating her resolve. As she began crafting her pitch, her thoughts swirled like leaves in the wind. She thought of Dakota's laughter, her small hands reaching for crayons, bringing color to the world. Sarah's vision for her project was more than business, it was about weaving their lives together, turning dreams into realities that could inspire. She considered how every innovation she proposed could serve not only as a form of expression but also as a legacy, a way for Dakota to see the strength in tackling challenges. Yet, doubt crept in, a whisper reminding her of the risks she might face. What if it all crumbled? What if her efforts to connect her passions were met with skepticism? Just as she was about to spiral into that familiar territory of overthinking, her eyes fell on a small table nearby. A group of designers was engaged in an animated discussion, their laughter mingling with the sound of clinking cups. She couldn't hear their words, but she felt their energy, a palpable spark of creative synergy that ignited her own passion. Fueled by a sudden surge of courage, Sarah gathered her things and approached the group, introducing herself and casually joining their conversation. The initial spark of curiosity quickly ignited into a lively exchange of ideas. Contrary to her fears, they were welcoming, intrigued by her perspective. They spoke freely about their challenges in harnessing creativity within business ventures. As she listened, a new thought took root. Perhaps her approach could not only help her but also be of assistance to others in the design community struggling similarly. The hour flew by, and as she moved to leave, one woman handed her a business card. "We're always looking for fresh ideas," she smiled. "Let us collaborate sometime." It was as though the universe was validating Sarah's endeavor, her fears quietly dissipating in the wake of newfound connections. This wasn't just about a pitch anymore, it was about building a community, a network bound by the same ambition to innovate and empower. Later at home, as Dakota swung into the room, her energy enveloping every corner, Sarah felt a profound shift within. The guilt that had previously lingered faded as she realized this was not merely a pursuit of selfish ambition but a chance to forge new pathways for both her and her daughter. In that moment, clarity struck. She would intertwine her professional aspirations with close-knit connections to allow Dakota to flourish in an environment filled with creativity. Days flew by with a flurry of preparation for the pitch, but the focus now wasn't solely on her but on an idea that had the potential to foster relations and expand horizons. As she practiced her presentation in front of the mirror, she opted to showcase not just the plan, but the essence of vulnerability, the stories that made them real, making her pitch far from sterile, but alive with passion and purpose. Each point articulated felt like a step toward her transformation, no longer merely a mother trying to balance life, but a professional ready to embrace her truths. On the eve of the showcase, fear still nipped at her heels, an unwelcome companion. But Sarah had equipped herself with something substantial, confidence rooted in her deeper purpose. As she draped her jacket over her shoulders and took one last look in the mirror, she felt an unfamiliar strength within. She was not just stepping on stage to present, she was stepping into her future. The stage beckoned, the weight of expectation tangible in the air. Stepping into the spotlight, Sarah breathed deeply, allowing the warmth to envelope her. Just as she prepared to begin, a new thought flashed. This moment wasn't the culmination, but the beginning of a journey that could inspire countless others, including Dakota. As she framed her opening line, she could sense the possibilities unfurling before her. It was time to share not just her vision, but her story. The adventure she had embarked on wasn't just for her, it was for every dreamer who felt trapped. But would the audience resonate with her truth, or would she leave the stage with her hopes hanging by a thread? The prospect of vulnerability hung heavily in the air, a question lingering like the last note of a song, echoing through the crowd. What if her biggest breakthrough lay just beyond the fears she was confronting? The moment Sarah stepped onto the stage, the cacophony of background sounds faded away, leaving only her heartbeat echoing in her ears. She glimpsed the faces staring back at her, a mix of curiosity and expectation. How could she summon the courage to turn her passion into words and connect with these individuals? Her mind raced, but as she opened her mouth, something remarkable happened. Her intention crystallized, pushing the fears to the back end. "Good evening," she began, her voice steady despite the tremor of nerves. "I'm not just here to present an idea, I'm here to share a piece of my heart. This project isn't just a business for me, it's a dream woven from the threads of my life with my daughter, Dakota." The audience leaned in, the initial skepticism melting in the warmth of her honesty. She spoke of the challenges that had intertwined their lives, the constraints that threatened to stifle her creativity, and the radiant moments of inspiration sparked by Dakota's boundless imagination. As she navigated through her presentation, she consciously emphasized her vulnerability. Each story of hardship mirrored a universal truth, inviting others to connect deeply with her resolve. It wasn't simply a pitch, it became a dialogue, anchored in emotional authenticity. Sarah felt the shift. Her fears had transformed into a canvas upon which possibilities could be painted. Suddenly, a flicker of realization hit her. This wasn't just her personal journey anymore, it held the potential to be a collaboration that could spark change across the design landscape. What if her project could create a platform for others like her, for dreamers, mothers, or professionals seeking an outlet? Fueled by her epiphany, she articulated a vision of inclusivity, a space that encourages budding creatives to share their stories. She described workshops for parents who wanted to preserve their children's imaginative narratives, spaces where artists and mothers could brainstorm practical design solutions. A universal networking hub manifesting a community rooted in sharing. As her pitch neared its conclusion, silence filled the air. Sarah's mind raced with the weight of her unfolding thoughts. Would they see it? Would they feel it? She stood at the precipice of possibility, teetering on the edge of self-doubt and hope. Her closing statement was a catalyst, an invitation to the audience. We each hold the power to visualize and empower one another through our work. Let us create a legacy that isn't just ours but belongs to our children too. Applause erupted as she finished, but instead of feeling fulfilled, the tension within her shifted to anticipation. This was just the beginning of something larger, a potential stepping stone to an opportunity beyond her wildest dreams. Questions bubbled inside her. Who would resonate with her vision? Would anyone connect with her story at a deeper level? As she walked off the stage, adrenaline surged through her veins, but doubt flickered once more, sharp and insistent. What if the feedback was mixed, or worse, indifferent? A myriad of voices within her clashed, her journey still tinged with uncertainty. She had dared to seek something extraordinary, yet the path ahead remained foggy. Then, as she gathered her things, she noticed a figure approaching one of the designers from the cafe. "Sarah," she called, her expression earnest. "I was moved by your pitch. I think we should talk about collaborating. You've illuminated an avenue that is desperately needed in our field." Hope blossomed anew, yet alongside it, trepidation simmered. Would this be her breakthrough or merely a fleeting compliment? Could she sustain this momentum? As they exchanged ideas, Sarah realized the magnitude of the experiment she had set in motion, but the questions kept surfacing. What would she have to sacrifice for this new alliance? How much of herself was she willing to invest in an uncertain future? The elevator doors seemed poised to close, with Sarah trapped inside a nexus of exciting potential and impending challenges. She inhaled sharply. Before speaking again, words intertwining with thoughts she hadn't voiced yet. The real journey was just beginning, and it might lead her toward greater revelations than she could have ever imagined. What awaited her on the path ahead under the radiant light of possibility? Would she seize this opportunity to redefine not just her career, but her very essence? Sarah's heart raced as she stepped away from the stage, her excitement punctured by a wave of exhaustion. The applause still rumbled in her ears, but the thrill of the moment shifted into a whirlwind of questions that threatened to drown her renewed sense of purpose. "Collaboration," she murmured, rolling the word on her tongue as if tasting a new flavor. The designer's proposition teased her imagination. Could this be more than just a fleeting conversation? Was it the gateway to building something greater than herself? As she walked towards the exit, her mind began to race through the possibilities, weaving elaborate scenarios of success. Yet, lurking beneath her excitement was an undeniable nagging fear. What if she wasn't enough? What if her past mistakes haunted her as she ventured into uncharted territory? She could still see Dakota's smile, innocent and full of hope, a stark contrast to the self-doubt gnawing at her. In that instant, Sarah understood that what she faced wasn't merely logistical challenges or industry hurdles. It was a profound battle with her own insecurities. The thought crystallized into a conviction: she had come too far to let doubt paralyze her now. Embracing that notion, she shook her head as if casting aside cobwebs of fear. "All right," she whispered to herself, summoning inner resolve. "You're going to explore this. You can do this." Sarah's steps quickened as she exited the building and made her way to the cafe where she had met the designer, whose name still lingered in the back of her mind: Jess. She had committed herself to a meeting, but now that commitment felt heavier, brimming with uncharted potential. The thought of creative brainstorming made her heart flutter, but it also stirred a familiar anxiety as she approached the small corner table laden with sketchbooks and colorful markers, an artist's paradise. "Sarah." Jess looked up, excitement lighting her eyes. Her smile was genuine, and it ignited a spark within Sarah, reminding her of the importance of connection, of community. "Hey. It's great to see you again," Sarah replied, drawing a deep breath. Together, they began to delve into the discussion she had both anticipated and dreaded. "I was genuinely inspired by your vision," Jess began, flipping open her notebook to reveal sketches and ideas. "What if we curate a series of workshops? Make it engaging for parents while allowing their children to express themselves through art? Think about it, parents constantly juggle responsibilities. They want to embrace creativity, but it's difficult." Every word ignited a flicker of realization in Sarah's mind as she listened intently. This was not merely about collaboration, it was an opportunity to create something lasting, an outlet for both children venturing into creativity and the parents who supported them. But as each idea flowed, a tension gripped the edges of her thoughts. The more Jess spoke, the more aware Sarah became of the gaps in her expertise. "I haven't led workshops before," she admitted, biting her lip. "What if I can't handle it? What if I fail?" "We all start somewhere," Jess replied, her tone reassuring. "The best ideas are born from taking risks. And you're not alone in this, our strengths will complement each other." With that, Sarah felt an awakening within her. She was being given the chance to step out of her comfort zone, to reclaim the essence of who she wanted to be. But that also meant putting herself out there vulnerable, exposed, and open to criticism once again. The daunting nature of the unknown hovered over her like a tightrope precariously balanced in the air. Yet beneath it, there was a pulse of excitement, a tantalizing whisper that perhaps embracing this risk could guide her to profound personal transformation. As they continued to brainstorm passionately, Sarah marked the turning point: a commitment to electric ideas danced like fireflies in her mind. But those thoughts were quickly chased away by the looming reality of her dual role as a mother and entrepreneur. How would she manage her responsibilities to Dakota along with this budding venture? Would she be ready when the stakes escalated, and the challenges multiplied? "Let us aim for something big," Jess declared, snapping Sarah back to the present. "We'll make this a movement where hope, creativity, and parenthood collide." The declaration sent a shiver down Sarah's spine, an exhilarating mix of ambition and doubt that both thrilled and terrified her. She could feel the pieces coming together, but would she truly be able to reconcile this new endeavor with her devotion as a mother? The day's bright light began to fade, casting reflections across the cafe windows, flickering excitement mixed with the shadows of uncertainty. With the meeting at its peak and with each idea elaborated, Sarah felt profoundly aware that they were skirting the precipice of a daring leap into the unknown. As their conversation carried on, the air thickened with potential, and Sarah questioned herself: did she have what it took to navigate both these intricate worlds of motherhood and entrepreneurship? Would she emerge stronger, or would the pressure become too heavy, threatening to shatter her fragile aspirations? The answers remained elusive, hiding in the mist of tomorrow. Each second beckoned with promise, and Sarah felt herself at a crossroads from which she could either ascend or falter. The stakes were raised, her journey was just beginning. "Let us meet again soon," Sarah said, feeling both the weight of her commitment and the thrill of possibility. But deep down, a more pressing question lingered in the silence: could she truly forge a legacy that would stand the test of time, or would she once again fall short of her dreams? The thought hung in the air, waiting to be confronted. The following days felt like a whirlwind, a blend of anticipation and dread. Sarah wanted to dive headfirst into the planning with Jess, but the weight of her doubts loomed larger than ever. Each idea they had discussed rolled through her mind like clockwork, colorful workshops featuring interactive art for children mixed with a sense of community engagement. But the realities of her life tugged at her, reminding her of Dakota's needs, her current responsibilities, and her recent past of failures. As she juggled the responsibilities of motherhood and the burgeoning idea of entrepreneurship, Sarah found herself more introspective. Every time she looked at Dakota, who was often encased in her playful drawings and stories, she was reminded of the potential she had, a potential she felt was constantly at odds with her self-perceptions. She jotted down ideas in hastily scribbled notes, filled with excitement one moment and dread the next. One Saturday, as the sun streamed lazily through the kitchen window, Dakota burst in wearing a homemade crown, her face decorated with proud streaks of her paint-splattered fingers. "Mom! Look! I made a castle!" Dakota exclaimed, thrusting her drawing into Sarah's hands. The vibrant colors leaped off the paper, and for a moment, the world outside faded away. It wasn't just a drawing, it was a representation of pure creativity, a reflection of uninhibited joy. In that instant, a realization coursed through Sarah. Dakota was a mirror of everything Sarah wished to reignite within herself. "Dakota, this is amazing!" Sarah beamed, her heart swelling with pride. It ignited a spark. Perhaps this was the very essence her workshops could embody, a space where children, like Dakota, could express themselves freely while also inspiring their parents to reconnect with that lost sense of creativity. She bit her lip, contemplating. After the moment passed and they returned to their daily routine, the weight of decision made itself known. Sarah needed to elevate this from a dream into a tangible entity. How could she offer these workshops? Could she balance a growing venture while tending to her responsibilities as a single mother? During a midweek meeting with Jess, Sarah found herself speaking the truth she had been afraid to accept. "I think I might want to incorporate family-based elements into the workshops," she noted, gauging Jess's reaction. "Something that allows parents to participate alongside their children, fostering not just their creativity but their bond." Jess's eyes lit up. "That's brilliant, Sarah. You're making it more than simply workshops, it becomes a shared experience, a chance for parents to rediscover that creativity too." The stifling fear that had previously enveloped Sarah began to fade, replaced by a wave of clarity. Harnessing that idea could potentially reshape how they approached their project together. Yet, beneath the excitement lay the relentless inner voice that questioned her readiness. What if her idea was overly ambitious? What if she couldn't maintain the balance between being a mother and a workshop facilitator? Back at home, as she sat beside Dakota, who was engrossed in her own artistic endeavors, Sarah couldn't help but confront that fear directly. It was time to cultivate not only Dakota's talent but her own. She had always prioritized her daughter's dreams over her own. What if it was time to blend their paths? Days turned into weeks, and preparations began for what would be their first workshop. Sarah plastered sticky notes around her workspace with inspirations and logistical outlines, pushing through the anxiety. But there was one critical step she hadn't addressed: the financial logistics. Could she afford the supplies? Was leasing a space feasible? The relentless questions gnawed at her, wearing down her nascent confidence. And when Jess suggested they could use a local community center, Sarah hesitated. "What if they don't want us?" she questioned. "They will," Jess said firmly. "Remember, this is about creating a space for expression. You have to believe in it, Sarah. If you don't, how can you expect others to?" Those words settled like a heavy stone in Sarah's gut. It was a challenge, a call to action. It reminded her she held the pen to her own story, one that could either thrive or crumble based on her mentality. Could she own this commitment? As they finalized the purchase of supplies and set an initial date, Sarah felt both empowered and terrified. This was no longer just an idea, it was real, and it held the potential for both personal transformation and community engagement. But would the workshop make an impact? And would she be able to juggle the role of facilitator and mother effectively? As the night crept in, shadows danced in her cluttered workspace, and Sarah hovered on the brink of uncertainty. A profound realization loomed: if she wanted to forge this path, she needed to confront not only external challenges but the internal battle of belief in herself. The question lingered as she stared at Dakota's drawings, filled with vibrant colors and unrestrained spirit. Sarah finally whispered to herself in the fading light, "What if I'm more than enough?" The answer was still buried somewhere between hope and fear. Would she unlock the potential within her and step up to the legacy she longed to create, or would she retreat once more into the safety of doubt? The answers awaited her, not far ahead but just out of sight, teasing like distant stars in an infinite sky. Would she dare reach for them or let them slip through her fingers again? The day of the first workshop dawned brightly, yet Sarah's heart churned with anxiety. As she stood looking in the mirror, she dressed in her favorite blazer, a subtle reminder of her newfound identity. She felt a jolt of reality hit her. Today wasn't merely about facilitating a creative session, it was about presenting a new chapter in her life. A transformation that had been months in the making. In the community center, as tables filled with colorful supplies came into view, nervous excitement coursed through her veins. Dakota skipped beside her, adorned with her own miniature craft bag, embodying the essence of pure, carefree creativity. That image fueled Sarah's determination. She wasn't just doing this for herself. She was paving a way for Dakota, teaching her that dreams held value and could coexist richly with responsibility. The room was set up beautifully when Jess arrived, brimming with her own enthusiasm. "Are you ready?" she asked, a conspiratorial grin forming on her face. Sarah returned the smile, though her stomach churned in anticipation. As parents and children began to fill the space, a potent mix of energy ignited the air. Sarah's fears threatened to resurface as she greeted each participant. Small talk felt like treading on shaky ground. Every "what if" loomed larger in her mind. Yet each smile she met began to warm the atmosphere. Finally, as the last few attendees trickled in, Sarah took a deep breath and stepped forward, ready to share her vision. "Thank you all for being here," she said, her voice steadying. "This isn't just a workshop, it's an opportunity for us to bring our imaginations to life." Excitement bubbled within her, tempered with authenticity. As she guided participants through the first activity, something astonishing happened. The warmth of their engagement began to melt away her anxiety. Gaze after gaze reflected enthusiasm, and each laugh, inquiry, and spark ignited something profound within her. They weren't just attendees, they were co-creators of an experience. Sarah felt her confidence swell with every shared story, every child's laughter blending with the chatter of parents rekindling their lost creativity. Midway through, with paintbrushes flying and laughter filling the air, Sarah glanced at Dakota. She was engaged, vibrant, her artistic energy radiating like a beacon. In that moment, the burdens began to lift. The workshop was succeeding beyond her expectations. A flash of recognition unfolded. As she took risks to step into her passion, she demonstrated to Dakota the very essence of resilience. By the end of the session, Sarah was met with amazed applause. Exhausted yet glowing, she felt an overwhelming sensation of accomplishment wash over her. Not only had she executed her vision, but she had done so with grace, igniting inspiration in others. Feedback flowed in torrents, a tapestry of appreciation and encouragement. Parents expressed gratitude, children beamed with new excitement about creativity, and Sarah stood as a bridge between them. As she cleaned up, Jess approached with a smile, holding hands full of art supplies. "You did an incredible job, Sarah. We have to do this again." There it was, a golden ember of opportunity igniting within her. "How about forming this into a series?" Jess suggested, their eyes brightening at the prospect. Renewed determination unfurled inside Sarah. She could harness this momentum. It wasn't merely an isolated workshop. This was the inception of a community movement. Time intertwined, and in that single moment, she saw the duality of her journey, not just a mother chasing her dreams but a woman capable of redefining success for not just herself, but for Dakota as well. The following days brimmed with planning and strategy sessions as they sought to expand their workshops across neighborhoods. Sarah partnered with local schools, art centers, and family organizations, creating an outline that centered on collaborative experiences for parents and their children. Each conversation intrigued and validated her journey even further. From trailblazing ideas to filling community calendars, she evolved into a connector, a catalyst for change. With every new engagement, the shadows of doubt receded. She felt fortified by something monumental: the external validation of success. But more importantly, internally, she had cemented her role as an advocate for creativity, an evolving story fueling her growth. One evening, after another successful workshop, she picked up Dakota from her friend's house. The car ride felt filled with an electric energy, revealing a bond fortified through this newfound journey. "Mom, can I paint my castle again tomorrow?" Dakota asked, her eyes shimmering with hope. Sarah couldn't help but smile wide. "Absolutely, sweetheart. And maybe we'll build our own castle project together." At that moment, Sarah realized she had not just inspired others, she had reignited her own dreams while leaving a clear path for Dakota. They were embarking on a shared journey, crafting memories formed through creativity and ambition. It was in the blending of their lives where responsibilities intertwined with imagination that true legacy lay, no longer overshadowed by self-doubt. In all of it, Sarah had become not just a facilitator but a beacon of hope for her daughter and others like her, solidifying the virtues of resilience, creativity, and aspiration. The weight she carried had transitioned into a source of liberation, transformed from a sense of entrapment into one of profound achievement. Now more confident than ever, Sarah bore the qualities of a true pioneer. She had achieved much, the trajectory only soared higher. With her heart anchored in her passion and her head held high, she embraced the future, one purposeful workshop at a time. Join the movement to celebrate stories of personal transformation. Your support matters. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your appreciation. Comment below your reactions and theories about the ending. Your voice is important. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to spread hope and inspiration.